and we're recording.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 8:40 a.m. on Monday, April 19th, 2021. This is the regular meeting of the Sandpoint Tree Committee, now called to order. We are meeting here at the Community Center at 240 South First Avenue. For the record, I am Chairman Bob Wilson, presiding at Sandpoint Community Hall, 204 South First Street in Sandpoint. And our committee members will introduce themselves.
My name is Bill Love.
My name is Sharon Lewis.
Molly McCann.
Kim Woodruff, Parks and Recreation.
Okay, thank you. Members not present: Eileen Atkinson, Gail Lister, and Rich Del Carlo. But we do have enough for a quorum, so we will go ahead and, oops, here comes one more. Have a seat.
Just introduce yourself, Rich. Say, Rich, I'm here. Rich Del Carlo.
Rich Del Carlo is here.
Okay.
All right, yeah, we're doing the round of introductions for the recording, so just need to get your name on the record. So anyway, thank you. Item number 3, general committee announcements, reports, and public comments. Are there any general announcements or reports from committee members or from staff?
Yeah, just from staff, I just wanted to say that I appreciate everybody's patience as we're going through kind of our retooling, and that's another on the agenda on our tree stuff. And that I think really we're excited the direction we're going and you're rolling. So.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, are there any members of the public present who wish to address the committee?
Mr. Chairman, there are no members of the public attending this morning.
Okay, we will now proceed with approval of the minutes. Meeting minutes approval is item number 4 from the committee's last meeting. Everyone has had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Let's see, that was a February 22nd meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Sharon seconds. All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Let's see, okay, old business. We wanted to discuss, we talked about having some sort of an Arbor Day celebration. And we wanted to find out if what we might be able to do for this, and when we might want to hold it. I know the state Arbor Day is the last Friday in April, which is I think the 30th. So we can try to do something on that date, or we can choose another date. So
Are there any events going on in our area that we know of that other people have planned?
Mr. Chairman, I can maybe save us a little bit of time. Because we haven't met for a while, and this was upcoming, and it was important to the city to actually have it on Arbor Day proper. I've taken the liberty of purchasing a tree already and finding a location to plant it. So where it's at is it's across from City Hall on Lake Street, just south of the playground on the street side of the fence. There's a large silver maple there that has been broken and smashed and smithereen, and it just looks like an ugly stick that's kind of a tree. So, and it's actually quite large and scraggly. So I've made arrangements for my crew to remove that tree. And then I've arranged to purchase a pear, a 2.5-inch large pear from Ponderay Garden Center, and it's a 500-600 pound tree, and put it in that hole. So that's our plan. We also have available Garth, who is our staff resource from Idaho Department of Lands, who can be here that day to participate in a morning ceremony to give us our Tree City USA packet, because we've met all the criteria last year and all that information is ready to be presented. So I've made arrangements with him, if you should so choose to go that route, to be here that morning.
Which is the 30th?
Correct.
And what day of the week is that?
Friday.
It's a Friday.
And then also I've reached out, and I haven't heard back from the mayor yet and the elected officials, but I kind of wanted to wait and hear where you guys were coming from, what you wanted to do. And I apologize in advance for being more aggressive on this. I do know that it was the city's desire to go on the day proper, which had deviated a little bit, I think, from stuff in years past. I think that we can capitalize on this opportunity a lot in the future, and I guess in the announcements, I should have backed up a little bit, and we can talk a little bit. Maybe, Mr. Chairman, if you can open that back up at the end of the meeting, I would like to talk to you about the Pine Street sidewalk project. But that was because it's not on the agenda, but I just wanted to staff announcement that.
Okay,
So but I don't want to be out of order on our agenda.
So what time, did you say the morning?
Yes, well, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Mhm.
So right now is Garth has some stuff he has to do in Coeur d'Alene at 1 that day. But he comes from Spokane, is where his office is at. He's under contract with Idaho Department of Lands.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've
So
heard that, I remember that name.
Yeah, so that's why, and he's been an excellent resource for us, a very practical, and also will come into play on our next agenda item on working with Mr. Flock, because they're know each other quite well, and I think that Garth has learned a lot from Jim and has worked with Jim. So that's kind of where we're sitting on the Arbor Day, and plus I think with the still kind of coming out of COVID, to not go super big on a great big ceremony. I think that we're kind of, as with all of our other programming, as we're kind of easing into things, we're not doing great big large events. Kind of, wait until we can get that vaccination rate. I was really quite excited to hear that so many people were here were vaccinated. So, we're still do something. That way we can celebrate the day, maybe talk about some press releases. I know that the city now has a very formal process on any press releases coming from the city, which would include anything related to this through the administrator's office. Right now, that's through Mary Malone with Jennifer's approval, but if we wanted to do something, so now that's the basis resources that are available to you all.
yeah, thank you, Kim. Do you have a time for the event?
I wanted to leave that. I mean,
Oh, okay.
well, I wanted to let you
It
just
needs to be before what? No, it needs to be before noon?
like 10ish probably, or I don't know what.
Yeah.
Mid-morning, 10 a.m.
10 sounds like a good.
10 sounds good.
I mean, I guess it depends on who we want our audience to be, or people in attendance.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. That was my other question. Are we going to have any announcement for the public, any way to invite the public, or are we just going to completely try to avoid that this year because of the coronavirus?
Well, I was just thinking that the Conservation District has a tree program, tree seedling program where they sell trees every year. And that's already come and gone, but they have a lot of trees left. Little seedlings of ponderosa pine and white pine and larch. And so we could, one idea is to hand those out to the public or anybody who attended for free, a little message on it. But that's the only thing I can think of that as far as, and an event of sort or a activity.
So those are available do you have what kind of inventory do you have?
I actually don't know. I just know that when, on pickup day, they had 34,000 trees left. So
okay.
I have a few, and I haven't seen an announcement for,
We'll leave it at adequate.
like, they were gonna do some sort of sidewalk sale, but I didn't see any kind of announcement. But you never know what happens in the background. Someone might call and decide they want 20,000 trees, but I just don't know. I can find out easily. And that's in, let's see, it's 2 weeks out.
Are those a desired species for our town?
Well, white pine is, they're blister rust resistant. Well, I don't know. I've always thought white pine was.
They're not, they would not
Larches.
be desirable for
City,
right-of-way trees.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, they are desired in Bonner County.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and you could put them in your yard for sure.
Yeah, they're good for reforesting, you know, but, I mean, Arbor Day isn't,
If they do pass out seedlings, and we have done that in the past, it's been a few years. But because our whole motto is right tree, right place, maybe even pass them out with a little like information sheet on planting it, the best place to plant, things to be aware of when you're planting. Because I do love the idea of passing out seedlings, but we do have to be cautious that the people we're passing them out to are aware of the whole concept of right tree, right place. And
does the neighborhood woods program still, does it still exist?
The neighborhood program is on pause right now.
Okay,
And that'll come into play a little bit in our next agenda item. But again, I think the right tree, the right place, and where the need is. And I think that's going to be part of this plan, is we have some financial resources. And I really want to speak highly of the neighborhoods program. There are a lot of trees that are planted in our right of way because of that program.
yeah.
And it's an awesome program.
And that's why I asked, I just wondered if we would prefer, if we even did something to hand out those right trees for the city.
At this point,
instead.
no, because part of the neighborhoods program, as you remember, was quite a robust educational component. On going through and making sure people that understand that they've contacted us, and I do have probably a half a dozen people that are on a list waiting for that to happen, and to be able to go in and then educate them on the tree health placement and basically the adopt a tree and take care of it type thing. So, but
we're not ready to go on that.
We're not ready to go on that one. And I think when we come out, maybe there's areas when we look at our town from 100,000 feet that we're really deficient in street trees over in this section. This one we're pretty good on, so let's maybe focus on this neighborhood and kind of be more strategic on how we manage those and use those funds. But that'll, again, I think will come out of our tree plant update. And then just kind of a living example of the given a tree thing, probably 15 years or 20 years ago, maybe 15. We went to one of those and got a maple tree, a little tiny tree, right? So we're going out with the kid who planted it, and it's like, now it's big, and I'm gonna cut it down because it's in the wrong spot. So. But it's an awesome tree, and it's huge, and then it grew. It's like every year I go, why did I plant that tree? Oh man. Yeah. So I think that there is, and I've been a lot more attentive and learning a lot more on urban forest, and it's a cool thing. But an urban forest is so different than a forest. Yeah. And so that's where, and then the pine trees are awesome. To your point, Bonner County preferred trees. Yeah. But, do people really want those in their lawn? Because when you get a big conifer, they take up a lot of space in your yard. And so, and that's where, and as long as people know that, that's cool. Yeah. It's just a matter of knowing what fits where and the types and the classifications of trees. So again, I think that there's really what we're talking about. There's so much potential and opportunity for the committee and for the community in our urban forest. I think we're just probably 6 months from really diving down that and finding out what our role is.
If we do choose to do the tree giveaway, which is always very popular at Arbor Day. In fact, when I was with the Department of Lands, people would call and say, someone going to have a free seedling program this year, and where is it? But if we do offer the seedlings, then we could use that as an educational opportunity, have a little informational sheet, with instructions. If you live outside the city limits, plant the tree, wherever you prefer on your property, realizing that it's going to grow big and it may become an obstruction. Don't plant it under a power line, things like that. If you live within the city limits, do not plant it within the right of way, and maybe a little illustration or description of that. If you do plant it in your front yard or backyard, realize the growth potential and things like that. If you are looking for trees for the right of way on your property, the Neighborhoods program may potentially could offer trees. The program is being redefined at this time. Stay tuned for further information or something. And so people could, whether they live in town or out of town, that they would have a little bit of basic information.
Even something as simple as saying, take a tape measure or take 10 or 15 steps long. That's how big that footprint of that tree is going to be. And then look up, 50 feet or whatever.
Yeah.
That's where it's
We
going to be.
really need to give them a visual, yeah.
Because they're little teeny, so cute, pequeño.
Do we already have a right tree, right place handout?
Yes, we do.
Ready to go.
And through our Arbor manual, and that's, you guys have seen it, it's online. It does go through and have the different classifications and placement as far as sight lines.
I mean,
And the species list as well.
Yeah.
at the very least, it seems like we should have that there to hand out.
So, and that too is part of our retool stuff as we're looking into. So again, it's a work in motion. Do we really, to my mind, I've hit the pause button on really being aggressive on handing out any old stuff that I know is going to change.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So that's why I kind of looked at this as an opportunity to go simple, plant a tree.
Yeah.
And I think it would be awesome to hand stuff out because it's cool. But I'm afraid when they get it, then they'll plant it.
Yeah.
So maybe just a non-public event other than media, and very clearly explain the plan going forward, or explain the plan to go forward with the neighborhood program, retooling it like you're saying.
Yes.
So we let the public know that there will be a program for them related to trees, right? Or will there not be?
Well, but again, we're premature. I think that yes, ultimately there will be. Will it be open to everybody? I don't know. Where's our emphasis going to be? What are the parameters? We do want trees. We want to have ultimately we want to have a canopy cover, right? Of a certain percentage. I think even the Spokane's been super aggressive at 35%. Does that kind of ring a bell to you guys?
Yeah.
And so ultimately that's the measure mark. How we get there is kind of what this Mr. Flott's expertise is coming in and saying, here's what we've been. We've kind of been we've done an awesome job, from a volunteer committee and Jared's work, but to kind of really be more strategic about going forward is kind of.
Well, I think that the Arbor Day event, we should still have a level of awareness for the public. Whether it's a public event or not, we should still view it as an educational opportunity to awareness about the program and awareness about what you were just talking about in the future. And so
I like the idea about having the stuff we do have that the urban forestry manual or the
And the
link,
tree booklet.
the tree booklets.
And you can also just say, we are aware that we need a city, an urban forestry plan. And we are seeking consultation
Or that we have one and it's a great one, but we want to have a better one. It's an important thing. The biggest thing, the elephant in the room is the funding component. And I've got some different ideas that, to bring in there, but it's premature until we go through and vet it through the public. And when we get in again to our next item, which is the tree plan, because we're kind of going back and forth here, it is that the public input component is going to be a robust and to try to come in part, so. So here's the deal, we got short timing, we got COVID. I think it would be cool to invite the public, you know, just have a real passive.
Yeah.
It's an outdoor
Simple
event,
thing,
so
have some tree booklets
yeah.
there, and say, yay, you know, Arbor Day. And and it's important to us, hopefully we can have a mayor or elected official, if not city administrator. And the worst case scenario would be me, because before me would be Bob.
Yeah.
Speaking, and so that way we would go in and be able to just say some stuff and then plant the tree and then know going forward that that's kind of like, this is the starting line for us,
Yeah.
right? And then,
And the requirements for Tree City USA is to have an Arbor Day celebration that doesn't define the magnitude, the scope of it. And then for a city official, ideally the mayor, but a city official, read the Arbor Day proclamation. And in the past, we've had the city mayor, we've had other city staff and read it. And so that still meets the requirements for the Tree City USA. So that would be the minimum. Then the question would be, how much do we want to promote it to the public? And being an outdoor event, maybe this soft promotion, you know, so that some people could come and enjoy it and participate. Then the next thing, the question would be is, what do we do for promotional or giveaway items? Obviously the tree booklet, but do we want to do the seedlings? And like I say, everyone likes seedlings. If we could do it in a kind of a
Responsible way.
yeah. And again, maybe my suggestion is just have a simple informational sheet, you know, that I listed before. But, you know, if that's going to be kind of too much and too short a time, well, then maybe not do the tree giveaway.
hey, do you think that the Forest Service would care if you just said, hey, here's a tree, go plant it out in the forest. Don't plant it in town.
I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know. They would
I don't
not-
want that.
They would not.
Well, now let me throw this in. I just learned about this yesterday. Paul Graves, former Mayor Paul Graves, who's very active in elder programs. What's the name of his geezer forum?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Well, he has an idea that he would like to get some of his geezers together to plant some trees as a kind of a renewal of the earth activity, as well as some physical activity for some of the older citizens in the community. And so he's been asking around, where can you get some trees and where would be a place to plant trees? And so I'm not saying that we should incorporate his idea into Arbor Day, you know, perhaps had more time or something, but it more as kind of an outreach. If any of you know of some potential places, it sounds like the Conservation District may have potentially some trees that would be available. But then the matter is where to go plant them. And yeah, you don't just pick any piece of Forest Service land or our state endowment land or our timber company land and go plant some trees. So a little bit of thought needs to be given to that.
Yeah.
I think
But if any of you have ideas, if you want to funnel those to the former Mayor Graves, then I'm sure he would appreciate it.
Mhm. I mean, to your idea, Kim, if they're going to do a tree planting, it would have to be with a knowledge and permission of the landowner. And you don't just tell people to
Pirate.
Yeah. You know,
and go out and plant it.
Pirate tree planters.
Yeah.
you know, and a few years ago when the annual Arbor Day celebration was partnered with the Native Plant Society and at the park and there would be, you know, several hundred kids, you know, there was an educational event and that sort of thing. Well, obviously we're not going to do that now. Being on a Friday morning, realistically, if there are going to be any youth involved, these would primarily, I'm guessing, be homeschooled youth that the parent would bring them in, you know, for the experience. And if they could have a seedling to take home and plant it in their yard or something like that, then they would probably, you know, the parents would probably enjoy that.
The Native Plant Society is doing tree tours for kids again.
Okay.
They're doing some, I think, first grader groups and third grader groups. So if you're looking for a place to take those trees, they might be very interested in having tree handouts, because I don't know that they do have anything lined up.
Okay,
So
Well, I mean, I can reach out to the Conservation District and let them know of all the various tree needs around
And
Yeah,
opportunities.
and opportunities, yeah.
yeah.
Just not the right way.
It's not in the right of way.
Bob, when is that youth program gonna be? Probably later in the year, I'm assuming.
It's, the third graders, I think, are the last week in May, and that there's I think, something the week before. I didn't quite catch the date on that, but,
And,
I
you
can
know,
find out.
Yeah,
And in the
I don't know
past, that
how long-
educational event used to take place on Arbor Day, the last Friday in April, but tending to be bad weather, then it seemed, and then teachers, I think, preferred to bring their children later in the school year as sort of a reward for sticking it out through the year, and so that's been moved back, you know, typically a little bit later in June.
And I think trying to do it, have like 300 school kids there on one day was getting a little overwhelming.
Yeah,
So they stretched it out over a week's
Good, good.
period, so I have several days to work with you. But anyway, yeah, Molly, I will try to get in touch with the KMPS and see if there's any interest there.
okay, because I'm not sure how long, I don't know what their storage plan is for
Oh.
keeping these trees healthy.
Oh, yes.
You know, there's gonna be a point where they're not gonna be viable anymore, I don't think, but they gotta keep them cold and watered and,
Mhm.
so I'd like to see them go as fast as humanly possible, but I'll find out a little bit more. I don't have lots of details, so.
Yeah.
I wonder if Connect Land Trust has any strategic plantings that they're looking at.
Yeah, that would actually be a good place to maybe go plant a tree.
With the old dudes. I mean,
Yeah.
I gotta be more formal. With the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what I meant, the person that told me about that, the senior project that I mentioned, Connect Land Trust, because they would maybe have.
So that might be
an
What about Ray DeLay's and the forestry contest?
Yeah, that would potentially be a spot.
A spot, yeah.
Well, Bill, I liked what you said about soft promotion of Arbor Day, and maybe you can reach out to the senior group
Mhm.
and that forum,
Yeah.
and maybe a couple of them are interested in attending on Arbor Day, the planting. But other than the soft promotion, I'd say the press release is really important lead up to the Arbor Day event. And have you thought much about how you would do a press release?
Well, I
Kim?
wonder, is this something that the committee would like to quarterback, or would you want me, staff, to take the lead, or how would you like to roll?
Well, I think it would be, I kind of agree that it would be a missed opportunity not to have at least some sort of invitation for the public. I wouldn't expect to see large crowds come out for just probably a rather brief ceremony.
Yeah.
Let's just say free trees, then maybe it'll come running, but yeah, I think some sort of press release is it better to have you do something like that, given that it's coming from the city? Or
Well, from the city, is you
how
are the
can we
city
help
chair.
you?
What I'm saying, is there anybody out here that wants to chair this thing? Take it on as a project. If not, by default, it will be me. But, I'd be glad to work with somebody with the decision makers and me as your go-to person.
Well, is there a protocol for a press release?
Yeah, well, no,
For the
just
city?
informational, and then what we would do is we would, well in advance, come up with the press release, run it through our, administration, get the okay, and then go for it. It's just and it's all about is having one central place in the city that all the information comes into, so everybody's saying the same thing, and we're not off. Before, we were kind of, I hate the word siloed, but, kind of everybody was doing their own thing, and then really there was no general consensus from the city proper. So you are the city proper, I am the city proper, we are the city. That way it's coming out of that one office and we all are speaking the same speak. So it's not a control thing at all. It's just a communication strategy to all be on the same page.
Yeah, and I agree that I think whatever we might put together would have to channel through you before it goes out. So
it's we, the same. So I would work directly with whoever wanted to maybe be in charge from the committee, directly with them. I would just be their gopher.
Mhm.
Well, it's, I mean, you have a plan in place already.
I'm glad to take the lead by default.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
but,
that's more efficient.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
I'm
and,
glad to-
and, you know, your statement was, well in advance.
Yeah.
Well, this is well in advance today.
I
I mean, if we're talking about the end of April, right?
Well, and that's why I wanted to kind of, get the time
Yeah.
dialed, the content, so maybe right now for actions or for guidance for me, we got it from 10 till probably 10:30,
Yeah.
10:45. 10:30 to 10.
And I don't know exactly how press releases work, but it does seem like there's two stages to the press release. The one that maybe is doing a little self-promotion, if that's what you decide to do. But then also having some media representative there to take a photo of the planting, so
and
it
that's where-
appears
That's
in
what we
the
have that whole
next
sy-
day's
system in
front
place
page.
at the city to do that. And it's, but this is a positive opportunity for us to toot our own and to be visible. So for content, so let's just say at 10 o'clock it's gonna start, would somebody from the tree committee would like to do an intro? Or like a 2-5-minute thing?
It would be difficult
looking
for
at
me
the
to be
agenda.
there, otherwise
Okay.
I would do it. I don't know if anyone else would.
I could do it.
Okay, that would be great, yeah, thank you.
So we'll have Bill open. And then I'll check with our elected official. Do we want to come up, do we know, does anybody know if we have any of those 3 books left? I don't know.
As far as I know, there were still a few boxes that Jared had stored away. They were located in the second floor in this
Yeah.
back room that was kind of a storage room that was beyond the copy room. I don't know how else to
Well-
describe. Oh, Jared's office desk used to be in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah, at one
I'll look.
point.
And
So-
then that would just be something to have, we could say to whoever's there if you'd like to treat it with that. So
Yeah.
that's not going to be
That's
really.
that's a very nice thing to pass out. at
So we'll
an
go
event
with the
like
Bill
this.
representing the tree committee and then the elected official, then Jennifer, myself, kind of an update on where we're heading with our plan. Then we'll actually plant it and color it.
So just logistically, are we gonna actually, you said this is a few 100-pound tree?
Yeah.
Are we actually gonna have it planted?
Yep. My God, my high staff's
During-
ready
during-
to do it.
Okay,
We're planting.
And the hole will be
Yes.
pre-dug, so
Well, the
ready to
whole,
go.
well, and they'll go, the silver maple, this, that one. It will be removed and ready to, will be ready to plant. So it'll be with a tractor.
So is it east of the park?
It's
So
south.
it's on Lake, it's on Lake?
It's on
Street?
Lake, immediately south of the playground.
Oh, so between, like on the corner where the fire station?
No, it's on the other side of the street. It's on the north side of the street,
Oh,
just on the other side of the fence from the playground.
oh,
okay.
There's that big silver maple that every time there's a windstorm, it would stop branches off. And it's really bad. And in fact, I didn't know how bad it was until I was out when Garth walked by, goes, oh, wow. So that's the Arbor Day tree. And
Lots of
I
good
don't
stuff.
know, I asked for different types of, different plantings, and it seems like the pear, if I wanted to get a big enough one because of proximity to the playground, that it has a chance to survive, that's why I went for the 2.5 inch. And they're a little more money, but I think for the sustainability, the tree won't get over, I think 30, 35 feet, 40 maybe tall, and has some flowers and be a good presence there. So in between the
Nice.
2 other trees that are, I can't remember what they are, but
yeah, and and paying retail for one tree, it's not a big deal.
it's like $300.
Buying local.
Totally.
And then typically in those ceremonial plantings, the tree the hole is dug, the tree's there. Quite a bit of the dirt is already around it, but you just have the officials kind of ceremoniously
Okay,
put the last little,
You want me to do, so should I do that?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. You don't want the forklift?
Yeah.
Oops.
Back on my way, shut up.
Due to time constraints, the tree will be pre-positioned.
I'm happy to hand out tree bugs. We track them down.
And I plan on being there too.
Thank you. So is that, have you got enough info to
I do.
do release? Okay, any other additional questions or comments on Arbor Day?
Just full disclosure, Bill nailed it on the head. I want to check that box also.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
For our Tree City USA, we need to have the ceremony.
Yeah, when I was representing Idaho Department of Lands at Arbor Day ceremonies, typically it was a Tree City USA and just to sort of, make sure that they were doing it to meet the requirements and everyone was happy then.
Official proclamation.
Yes. Oh, and there's a canned proclamation, is all that needs to be inserted is I, Mayor Sandpoint, or I, Kim Woodruff of Sandpoint City staff, or whoever, do solemnly proclaim or whatever, so.
Well, and FYI, this Wednesday in announcements, the mayor will be making that proclamation.
Good.
In 2 days, so,
Good, okay, great, yeah, so,
in the formal meeting.
good, no, that's perfect, yeah, that's better, yeah.
Right, Melissa, I got to.
Okay, all right, thank you. Moving on, final order item under old business is an update on the urban forestry program assessment and management plan. And Kim is going to fill us in on that.
Okay, everybody got a handout, right? If you would take to the Exhibit A part, this is a signed agreement that we have with Jim Flott, who was the one that's going to come in and revisit our urban forest plan. And the scope of services is the exhibit. So I just kind of wanted to go through that with you guys so you have an understanding of that. So how about everybody take like 5 minutes and read through it real quick. And then we'll have any questions. most people are near the end. We need a little more time?
Sounds good.
I just wanted you to read it, so that way you didn't get my interpretation of what it says. So, there you go. So, the cool part of it is, and we won't be going with the inventory. I didn't quite understand, so that's scope number 1. We didn't feel that when in the pricing, that was like 2,000 for that one, then it was 10,000 for the task number 2. So bottom line in this contract is $10,000. And that's going to be to revisiting the plan. The tree resource assessment kind of was a little bit of a, I don't know if it was a miscommunication or off communication, talking about the trees, the hazard trees that we had. And we've already gone forward with Garth on that one, went out and looked at every one of those trees. He has a summary for me. He came up with an estimate for kind of a guesstimate to how to deal with or remove or stump grind. Then I actually had Dennis from Best Way Tree Services, a volunteer service, come in and give me that same information. So it was interesting. We're a little bit less expensive than they would be in Spokane. And it was interesting to have kind of the different perspectives of the different people of really what was a danger and what wasn't. Dennis, are you guys familiar with Dennis from Best Way of
Yeah.
Out of Sagal? He does a lot of the he's got some big equipment.
Right.
And so he does a lot of the big stuff, and he's there a lot of the times pulling stuff off people's houses.
Yeah.
So
But he's not qualified to assess though.
no, but he's qualified to give me an estimate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I was wondering about. So you said, was Garth doing the assessment then?
And he did.
Is he a tree risk has a?
He is certified.
Okay, all right.
Was he assessing the hazard trees that had already been identified
Yes,
in
the
the tree
one by
inventory?
the came for Grumber, the
Okay.
group that you guys had all started, our first meeting, we said, hey, we
Right.
got some hazard trees sitting out there, it's still moving forward. It just, and at the end of the day, it's just money and how we're gonna go forward with that now, but we have all the information now with the associated cost for that effort. This is a bigger picture. So looking at the scope 2, you'll go see it. Basically, he's going to go in and revisit the entire plan and look for efficiencies, take public input. And was there anybody that had any questions or comments on that process?
So this is all, this will be completed by June.
Well, yeah, the interesting part, and that's why I circled that, is actually we had a meeting scheduled with him last Thursday, a Zoom meeting, because I was hoping to give city council an update at the proclamation for Tree City about where we're at on this, but he had a medical emergency and was not able to participate in that. So Jennifer did reach out to him last Friday saying, hopefully everything's fine and, where are we at in that process.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything definite. That's why I was a little bit on about having today's meeting, because I don't really have any deliverables for you guys.
Mhm.
But the trees, with the Arbor Day celebration, and then just kind of bring you up to speed. So I don't know. I know that we have a deadline.
Yeah.
I just know where we're at
Yeah.
on that one. And so he seems very enthusiastic. This Thursday, I'm traveling to Spokane to Garth's office to meet with Garth and Jim, and then a guy from Avista Corporation that does from the main office that does the urban trees and the tree lines. And he seems like a real progressive person. He's relatively new in the job. A case in point would be he's kind of helped us out on the Pine Grove Medical Building. Did we talk about those trees on the Pine Grove Medical Building?
No.
On Pine Grove is the one that's next to the one that Dunn and his office there next to the hospital. Do you guys know the one?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a bunch of pine trees.
Scotch pine.
Yeah. it's
Yeah,
not mine.
and they're crawling right up into the line, right? So they're to the point now where Avista would come in regularly, their practice would be to come in there and just
Right.
give them a haircut.
Yeah.
And we look around town and we see those. Those are relatively young trees, and it's going to be an ongoing operation for them to maintain and keep those lines clear, and it's going to look hideous. So it's a lose-lose. They stepped in, Avista, through their assessment person who comes in and does that type of work. And then I wish I could remember his name, I didn't write it down, I'm bad with names. But the Avista coordinator and I discussed it and said, hey, what would happen if Avista paid to remove all those trees, stump grind them, and replant the appropriate trees, then we're done forever. You know, we don't have to, and it was a 20 to 25-year payback plan. But Avista had that individual had the foresight to say, yes, that way it's off their list.
Yeah.
We in our downtown have a much more desirable product, visual in our downtown. And it would be on the responsibility of the property owner, which we're coming in and offering to Avista, you know, take them out, grind them and plant them. All they gotta do is take care of them. And so there's those type of partnerships that I want to learn about with Avista. You know, we get a lot of calls that, I get calls that says, hey, there's a power line or by my tree. And is it the right of way? Yes or no, but still we want to be able to help people with our urban forest. And so to create that relationship with the Vista, find out what their priorities are and work in that team effort. And I guess that was that strategic and that plan and partnership was very effective in Spokane. No need to reinvent the wheel. So that's where I'm going over to. And Jim will be there. So I'll get some FaceTime with Jim for the first time and to try to bring that Vista into the partnership. And so I think in Spokane, like the Vista would be part even of this group. You know, but they're a much larger city. So you know what I'm saying as far as, and maybe there is something local, but this person's, so that's kind of what things that are happening, and it's happening fast. It's just there's nothing happening that I can give you any deliverables. Here's what that plan is.
How is it envisioned that the public is involved?
There's in the deliverables, there's.
Well, I see that they would, that, you know, there would be public meetings, but what would be the content or focus of that?
Well, see, and I think that's where we had hoped to, through the Zoom meeting before he got not available because of medical reasons, to drill down on that. And really what I want to learn is so I could share with you guys what to expect, what your role is. I see that being a huge element in not only participating in that process, but helping getting the word out, being advocates of getting that public input. You know, and then really focusing on our city proper and educating. I think that there's a lot of opportunities to educate our citizens, and you guys know more than I have because for years you've been working. But I think that probably 85 to 90% of the people have no idea that they're in charge of the trees in front of their house. They don't. They're trees.
And if they do, they don't really know what to do about it.
Well, when I call them, that's the city's responsibility. You know, there are a couple of them that I had some sightline issues that I've been dealing with this spring. Well, I call them up, say, you know, hey, you know, this sightline is up on the front of your house. Goes, well, yeah, what are you gonna do about it? Well, I'm talking to you, and you are going to.
Well, I think that there needs to be a little bit, hopefully, you know, I mean, ultimately our goal is to increase the forest canopy. And right now it's going away. I mean, everybody has an excuse right now to remove a tree. And a lot of
Or they're naturally being.
and windstorms, right? I mean, everybody's freaked out, and you know, everybody is trying to put 17 structures on their property right now, and the trees are taking it. I mean, they're just getting hammered because of the storms and because of all the development, and I think we need to refocus on the importance of those. And of course, I mean, certainly we've had wrong trees, wrong place, and we've been dealing with these imperfect trees forever, but we still need to look at that the role here is the trees.
And a sustainable plan, to my mind.
Right, exactly.
And a long-term plan. And just from this discussion here, I'm thinking, okay, well, we, the city, have control of our trees in the right of way. We do put that responsibility on the property owner. But how about the private property proper? How do we encourage or,
Right.
You know, because that's a whole lot of other space out there. When we're looking at tree canopy, we're looking at a footprint of the city and trees cover, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it's our right or if it's our duty, or I don't know.
Well, that's, you know, and that's where we were looking at like a heritage tree program, and that's where the cool trees of Sandpoint thing was, because none of those trees are on the right of way, actually. They're all private trees for the most part. So, but, you know, I know Jim, and, you know, he has a lot of passion and appreciation for trees. So,
That's good. So you're saying that the scope of services is to be complete by June, is that where
Yeah, I don't know
it
what
says
the
that somewhere?
contract says, but there again, it just, he's this very busy person. He doesn't see this as a very huge thing. He does a lot of stuff. I think his expertise, he seems to travel around a lot throughout the United States,
yeah,
educating, I think a lot on hazard stuff, on trees.
Yeah,
trees.
totally.
So he's ready to just jump into
Yeah.
a project like
Yeah,
this.
for him, this is a minor thing.
Yeah.
And so, but for us, it's a major thing.
Mhm.
You know, and so we're excited about it. And again,
So, and then he will, there will be an opportunity for him to come to a meeting or,
well, yeah, that's what I was hoping to have. Really, what is the role of our tree committee? I mean, because you guys, we have a lot of expertise and passion here. You know,
Yeah.
and also realistic views of our urban forest. You know, we have people that love trees and are passionate. But also that's a balance between sustainability and safety and all those different things. You know, there's the right species, the right location.
If you look at on page 8, task 2.2, community engagement, the considerations to include, that item B, city council and related city commissions are committees. You know, we would be the tree committee, but there's no active verb in there.
yes.
Whereas the others, you know, A is to host a town hall meeting, C is to meet with city officials. I would hope that maybe the city tree committee, you know, would be considered in that item C, that we would have a sit down, sort of a workshop type meeting. You know, it could be open to the public if required, but for us to meet directly with him, as rather than just kind of like an afterthought.
Well, and I see this one, the tree committee being the advisory committee.
Yeah.
So that's the one, again, to define the role.
Yeah.
You know, really, what is everybody's role? And that's the same thing about just the tree committee in general. And in this process is really let's define
Yeah.
specifically the role
Yeah.
of the tree committee
Mhm.
and what our job is. And when the tree committee meets, and are we the education
Yeah.
wing, or we the different
Yeah.
things, so we can really, because you guys are way enthusiastic and ready to do anything. Just what is that anything and how does it fit in? So we're consistent.
Yeah.
And so when Kim leaves, you know, whatever I think your role is, and then whatever Jared's role think your was, or whatever it is, it's defined.
Mhm.
You know, and that's as
Yeah.
we're going forward.
Yeah, I agree having a definition. I don't think we've ever had much more of a definition for what we're doing other than to advise the city forester
Yeah.
and city council.
But I look at also, to me, the
That's
huge
about
thing
it.
is where I say we lack is to everybody's point is the educational aspect, truly.
Mhm.
And, you know, I look at it
The
as
outreach.
the outreach. And then, you know, when we do go around and come up with the process we're inventorying the trees and right in front of people's house, there's gotta be a way to make that connection to that person right there.
Mm-hmm.
Say, hey, man, you know, this tree, you know, this is a little report,
Yeah.
print it out and put it on their thing, door hanger, and say, this kind of tree have, it's awesome, do a little trimming, whatever.
I would
So,
like for us to have excuse me, Sharon, I'd like for us to have the opportunity to visit with Jim as a committee to talk about these things. And, you know, here's our history, here's kind of our vision, you know, to make sure that he, you know, addresses that in the plan. You know, he's asking to hear from the citizens of Sandpoint in 2 public meetings. He will meet with city officials. You know, if that's implied that, you know, maybe a separate meeting with a tree committee, I would think that would be important. I know if I was writing a management plan, then, you know, I would want to meet directly with that group that's sort of been the on the ground force.
And
So-
he knows that we have an excellent committee. He knows Rich, he knows Bob, you know, personally. And so that's where those, you know, and so he knows that we have, and then we have the availability of Garth and through the Idaho Department of Lands, but him as a person that comes in and I said, look, we want to maximize our resources for our citizens. You know, as far as, well, let's put Garth in as much as we can. He's a paid person from IDL to
Sure.
come in.
Yeah.
But I think getting as much public input as possible is gonna be real valuable. I'm just wondering how that's actually going to work, because it says host town hall meeting.
Yeah.
How are we gonna identify people to come to that? How are we,
To attend it or to speak at it, to provide?
well, to participate in it, you know,
And how's
town
it
hall is usually,
promoted?
there's usually a moderated, event and person.
What we're missing is the recipe, and he's baked a lot
Yeah.
of cakes, but we don't have the recipe.
Mhm.
You know, I'm waiting, and that's what I was hoping to have at least was a simple recipe
Yeah.
for you today.
Yeah.
Again, but then he had the medical. And
Sure.
So again, it just,
Mhm.
things are, it's happening, and I wanted to meet because it's been a couple of months and keep kicking it down the road. It's like,
Yeah.
no, we are doing stuff. That's why I kind of wanted to meet today, give you that we do have the contract. I do think, to whoever pointed out the deliverable, I don't know how we can get that done by that date and have proper stakeholder input. But maybe he has in his recipe a way to do that.
Mhm.
But
I wanted to say that I was really impressed with the traffic master planning consultation that happened. I don't know if anybody else paid attention to that, but it apparently there have been consultants studying our traffic issues in the city for a while now. And then they announced this public hearing or public workshop for that to disclose what they had discovered and what their recommendations were tentatively or, conceptually. And it was it was announced like the day before, maybe even the morning of is when I saw it announced. And I was able to attend it and it was great. And they had identified all these problem areas and they had come up with potential solutions. And then it was going to be like a 2 or 3 part thing, which I never saw any other notification for those next meetings. And I was fortunate to even attend the first one. But I was really impressed. I mean, they stood at these street corners and they studied the traffic and they rated them. And I mean, I personally thought they determined everything that I've been determining, these problems that existed. So I don't know, I guess I'm just thinking that ideally that kind of should be what happens here, is that these problems or solutions are identified. And then that's presented to the city. Like, I mean, I'm sure as part of that traffic plan, they included the public somehow to come up with those solutions and determine the problems.
Well,
But
it's a
I don't remember.
process, and public engagement is a key component, to your point. At what point, you don't want to just have an open meeting and say, okay, let's talk about this, because you need to have some semblance.
Yeah.
It could go
of an
on
idea
forever,
or a
yeah.
path to direct and then solicit input. But again, I think that recipe, and we have a good urban forest plan, we do. We just need to go in there and re-identify and say, okay, how can we make this better? How can we learn from different areas? Again, to me, the big point is going to be the funding mechanism. Again, the big elephant in the room. We can have all these ideas, but if we don't have the resources to do it, but how do we do that? Do we partner with it? What they did in Spokane is they partner with their stormwater utility. And the stormwater, because of the value of street trees to the stormwater, we're a mechanism. Right. So it's just kind of that. And in here, you'll find out that, to go in and identify what it does take to do that and put a dollar amount to it, and not to just say that at the end of the day, there's a little bit of money, so let's throw it at urban forest. Yeah. But, we started with nothing, right? And we're kind of doing better. But now we're kind of being more formal with this and all of our other plans. And in a bigger sense is we have the transportation plan, the Parks and Rec plan, the tree plan, wastewater plan. Help me out, so we got a whole bunch of plans. But all
Master
those,
plan.
yeah, well, but the cool part of it is truly, now that we have the plans, we can see where the dots connect, where the commonalities are, and the efficiencies, and the priorities, and have the city council then be able to take that and look for the funding opportunities, and then start knocking that stuff out for a long-term thing, instead of a shotgun blast here and there for a plan that sits on the, but it was a huge candy bar to bite, and our mouths are full of candy bar.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out. But the cool part of it is to be able to identify that and have that, and then have the council and the decision makers make those plans of where we're going and stay ahead a little bit of the growth. And it's been crazy. We all know about the growth. and then the COVID and all those things, but be able to have under our current administration and leadership, or city administrator, be able to be in there. You know, it's a very, it went from a very slow moving barge to a speedboat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, what I've heard, several people mention is that this plan for identifying what we're looking for in a consultant and what we want from this person is right on track. Like, I see that. But where maybe it could be fleshed out a little bit more is the community engagement, because that's where we faltered in the past. So if the consultant can maybe, really focus in on the community engagement part, flesh it out a little bit more, like the action verb that's missing in line item B. So that becomes a real priority. And then also, like with Molly's experience with the traffic plan, the public announcement is made just 2 days prior to the meeting. That's not enough time. So that we are not making that mistake again. Because maybe that's the part of a lot of these plans that gets overlooked.
Yeah.
So.
So would it be possible to invite Jim to our next meeting so we can
Well,
get a little more details on this? Would that
I think
be
what's gonna happen
reasonable?
probably is we, on his schedule, we'll be able to maybe meet at a different time. Or to throw out there what might work for people that might be after 5, or I don't know. But to try to fit it into his schedule and find out what our role is.
That's a good
Yes.
idea.
Mhm.
And it
But
wouldn't
if
have to be
we-
a formal meeting though, right?
Right.
It would-
That's what I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, it would have to be announced to the public, so.
And I think you can do a special meeting,
Sure.
24 hours in advance.
Mm.
I mean, if it's a public meeting, we can do
And,
it.
and he would know well in advance as when he gets back with us again. I was hoping, and I gave him all the dates about this meeting, and then this Wednesday's meeting in 2 days when we're doing the proclamation. I kind of wanted to do an update, so it's kind of a little bit vague, other than saying, hey, we're working on it, and this is going to be a partner, and I'm excited. That's kind of the summary. So-
Yeah, well, Vista as a partner is one of the areas we identify as a need with this committee.
Yeah, that's exciting that that's happening.
Yeah.
In a real way. And I think it's a great idea to see if Avista wants any kind of representation in our tree committee.
Yeah.
Was it you, Kim, that said that's what they do in Spokane?
Well, that was my understanding, yes.
Yeah.
It was second,
Yeah.
but it was.
Yeah, no, that's.
Because, I mean, you think about it, there's all these trees in our town. There's a
Yeah.
lot of lines in our town.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
You
kidding.
know, I never really realized how many lines there are until you start looking at the right
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah.
You go, wow, man, there's a lot of lines.
So, and we kind of forget about it, but the right of way is also the alley.
Yeah,
right?
I
I
know.
mean, those are city trees as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't think we've ever even addressed
No,
that.
I've not.
Planting
But-
trees in the,
Well, I don't know, but anybody would go for that.
But I mean,
well, not right in the, but
No, I know.
along,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of digressing, but you could literally easily map out exactly where the power lines are and reach out to those landowners. Because like I've explained, I guess we all know, on Lake Street here, for instance, my side of the street does not have power lines. So I can plant a tree in my right of way that gets very tall, but on the other side of the street, they can't. And my neighbor's like, what tree can I plant? Because I already got a tree from the city that is already too tall for that power line.
And we're growing up as a city and learning as, we all do by mistake sometimes. And so those are the things we've learned: sightlines, proper placement.
Yeah.
And really, truly,
Yeah,
I would have had no idea when it was on my radar, and I've been here for 35 years doing the job, right? And so how critical it is for the right tree in the right place.
yeah,
And then the diversity, and then that we have, the different types of choices to make, and then the responsibility of making taking care of the tree.
Yeah.
to establish.
But I mean, there are only, there's a certain property that have an Avista line, and if they're not gonna bury the line
Well,
or
and it's
change
not
the
just a
line.
Vista, I mean, think about it, there's the cable dudes. and
Yeah,
There's lines all over the place, so which ones
There
are
are.
whose? You
but
know?
don't they kind of utilize the same framework? I mean, if
The
there's.
poles, pretty much.
Yeah, like if there's a pole there, they're gonna use that pole, and that's on one side of the street. I mean, I think that could be mapped in a heartbeat.
Oh,
Well, I'm
it's
sure
it
it
already is.
Well, yeah, so you could just, I guess, as far as educating the community, that could be easily done, like this, you happen to have a,
Well, so that's, I think this is a
Infrastructure.
perfect segue, Mr. Chair, when we do close and reopen up for staff comment, we can talk about the Pine Street project real quick.
Okay, yeah, I think we need to wrap this up.
I quickly digress. I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
Yeah.
that was a good segue.
Well, that's a good update, and you'll let us know then when Jim Flott would want to try to meet. And,
And then also just to let you know that the proclamation will be made at Wednesday's council meeting, which will be here. And so you can participate if you would like online via Zoom or in person or
So the
whatever.
proclamation isn't on the Arbor Day, then it's just a.
No, we'll do both.
We do both, okay. Sounds good. Any other additional comments on this urban forestry update? I'd like to move on. We have no new business, and we want to just go take a step back and head to announcement on the Pine Street improvements from
Yes.
Jim.
The city got a grant, long story short, city got a grant to put in a sidewalk in its entirety on Pine Street on the north side from Division to Boyer. So that's a long stretch in there, right?
Okay, say that one more time.
Okay, where Pine Street is, right? You know where Pine
yeah.
Street is,
Oh, yeah,
in between the two main drags, Division
Okay.
and Boyer.
gotcha.
Okay, so that whole stretch in there. There's some bits and pieces and, they're kind of broken up right now. And then there's something a little bit on this side, but to your point, the power lines are on the city hall side, right? And on the north side, they're not.
Mhm.
And so that's an opportunity there. Remember, we talked about those 4 giant
Yeah.
Douglas firs.
Doug firs that need to be come out for this project. So we talked about it a little bit.
I must not have been, I forgot. Might
Well,
not have been at that meeting, but.
But the big opportunity is, and I think it's this Thursday, we're having an open house for that project. Because a lot of those people are gonna learn what they think is their property is city right of way. And there's gonna be a sidewalk in front of their house. But where the group would be concerned and not, that I want to inform, is the tree planting opportunities. The project proper will go in there and pay to take out the trees that have been identified and grind them and replace them. But if there's someone that lives in that house that doesn't want to have a tree there, I don't want to replace it because it's going to die.
Yeah.
And so what I did want to do is tap into our funding that we have set aside for neighborhoods and make trees available to people at this open house that are interested. So, but there's still going to be a component of education and taking care of it and the type and species, the proper. But in there, in my mind, I was thinking about things we can do in there. And then as I was looking at that, just as an aside on my parks, there's a lot of different opportunities for planting. And I think that'd be another fun opportunity later as we're looking at canopy and opportunities. But on this Pine Street project, it would just be on the north side for people who want to take care of them. And when we walked that piece in there, we ran into some citizens that had some trees. And when they're putting in the irrigation and some of the infrastructure, they're looking at the opportunity of stubbing underneath the sidewalk into tree wells for people who are interested. So there is some opportunity right now before we put in all the stuff to be able to go in and plan for success. It's my understanding most of these trees is once they're watered in a year, Rich, Bob, their bills are probably okay, or if the
The first year is critical, but even watering for the next couple of years is advised.
And even in a really hot, droughty summer, they would probably need some water.
But would that be species specific? I'm just thinking about how do we plan for success? If somebody will invest a year to water this tree Can we in good faith
That's the
say,
minimum,
at the minimum,
yeah.
and then say, well, can they be hands off and it's gonna be okay? Are there different species of trees that are more friendly to that?
Some, yeah.
Yeah, there are, and we have to take a look at that if we
Well,
wanted to.
But see, that's
make
what I'm
that-
saying, is if we know all this information up front, we're making an investment for the next 50+ years for this tree, right?
Yeah, and I would think ideally it's just the property owner paying attention to the tree.
Yeah,
and-
but how about this? How about they sell it and then they sell it and then they sell it? And then you got somebody down the line that they,
Yeah.
I want to,
We've always faced that.
yeah, but if in the initial planting, you had selected the most hardy
No.
tree for success.
Well, maybe it's just a maple. I mean, those trees that are huge now didn't get a lot of care over the years,
I
right?
know, but how about between the strip and then that's another part is, you know,
right.
as I was over on Division, looking at a lady's house that really wanted to take out and replant. She's an awesome person, but her planting strip's this wide,
Yeah,
you know?
You know, and the
And she
thing
wanted
is
to put in maples. I said, no, man, you can't, you know,
that every year they are developing cultivars to really, that are just about tailor-made for a certain situation, for a certain growth habit, for a certain.
and low maintenance.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
see, those are things that we,
Right.
to my
And
mind,
so
we need to take into
we
consideration.
do, and I think we do need to look at.
Look at the
tree list.
science.
And because there are so many varieties out there that, you know, they're not natives, but they're
Yeah.
compatible in a lot of different urban situations.
Well, put yourself, okay, right now, if you're driving between Division and Boyer on Pine,
Right.
on the right-hand side, we want to have a tree corridor,
Right.
right? So at least on that right-hand side as you're going west. But we want to have, and so this open house is going to be for everybody on that project, right? And so they're going to show up here and I'm going to say, hey, if you want trees, I'll work with you.
Mhm.
That's going to be my role. I don't know how or what. And that's what I'm asking you guys is, you know, what would be our opportunity or role for the different type of, you know, species and
Are
locations.
you saying this is on Thursday?
I think it's Thursday.
And who's invited, like
property
specifically the
owners.
property owners
Only
on
the
the north
property
side?
So, yeah, because the tree can get tall, because there
Well,
isn't a power
Well,
line.
no, but, well, yes and no.
Unless we're.
It's the planting
for
strip.
wind.
Yeah.
I know, but then the
And
roots need to be
and
able
then the
to.
line of sight, when you come to the
Corridor.
stop signs.
Mhm.
You know, so
Sure.
those are all things to take into consideration when we're looking at, and it truly is, the more I've done this job, it's an in-depth, really.
Yeah,
Very
it's-
site specific, it's site
Very
specific.
Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
what the
And-
whole
I agree.
neighborhoods program has been all about. I mean,
Right.
first you're working with a tree list where experts have come up
Yep.
with these hardy urban
Yeah, yeah.
street tree
Yeah.
lists. And then you also have the experts that are meeting with the homeowners
Mhm.
to guide them on how to take care of the tree and the best and the right tree in the right place, you know, depending on how wide of a strip it is that they can plant in. So, I mean, so those are the elements of the neighborhoods program that, you know, we've tried to implement and have been a priority for us. But maybe, you know, this warrants going through the street tree list again and maybe with more of a focus on hardier trees, you know, like you said.
Well,
Kim.
and you guys have done that, but that has not been updated.
You're right,
It's my
exactly.
understanding that you guys went in and revisited all the class 1, 2, 3s, or at least the ones. And,
Yeah,
but I
we've
don't
been through
know,
it.
I don't even, yeah, but it was never adopted. It's not in that
Huh.
adopted plan, as I understand it. Again, remember I kind of stepped in just, when I came in, and that's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened before, other than Jared said, hey, there's some changes that were suggested, that they weren't processed, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know right on.
So are they going in and putting sidewalks in on just the north side?
Mhm.
And are they improving the road as well, the road surface as well? I just missed the whole,
No, and it's just sidewalks as far as I know.
just sidewalks. And so then there will be only certain trees that need to be removed.
Well, they've all been identified.
Right,
And in fact, we were more aggressive when we went out with Garth and the project engineers to say, look, truly, you know, this, not just in 5 years and 10 years, but in 15 years, this tree's gonna be a problem.
And in that area, there aren't any really
Yeah.
amazing specimen trees. You know, all of them are kind of marginal, and it's not a huge loss. It's gonna be a benefit, I think, that.
Yeah.
And then the tree strip, the size of it, the planting strip has already been engineered and designed.
It's there, yeah. So the project is, it's gonna happen.
It's
this
on
summer.
paper, right? I'm just curious. So we know the planting strip size.
Yeah.
And everybody is gonna have it, sounds like. on
Everybody's
that,
gonna
between
have a
division
sidewalk.
and- Yeah,
And what's the
Well-
construction schedule?
I don't know.
Would it
I
be
just
this
know.
season? you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, it'll be this
Okay.
season.
Oh, wow.
It'll happen this summer.
and did the homeowners chip into this project, or this is a city and,
This is a
City
city-funded
funded.
project.
Well, and
whole
it's a
grant.
grant, you got a grant from.
okay, and so, but
and
yet,
state.
It's, I can't remember, but it's a considerable size
Yeah.
chunk of change.
okay. And then the landowner then still has the responsibility for the tree, even though this project was built by the city. Because typically a landowner would have to install their own sidewalk and all that. Okay, so then they now are gonna have the choice of what tree to put in. The
Or
city
if
doesn't
they
have a
even want
plan.
Or not plan anything, but.
That's what I'm wondering is like, is it possible that the city just dictate? you
No,
know,
because if you dictate, it'll die. The responsibility and care, you want someone who wants a tree.
You want the partnership.
You have to have a partnership.
The
Yeah,
shared
I guess I
stewardship
just-
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just thought if the city could say, we are going to plant
And water.
these trees.
Who's gonna do it?
Yeah, no,
But if you
yeah.
don't do that,
Yeah.
then it is entirely up to the person. They might plant a tree, they might not plant a tree. They might take care of the tree, they might not take care of the tree. And then you have an inconsistent tree plan.
Well, no, right now there's not a lot of trees there. This is an opportunity, I think, to get more, but you want to have only engage the people who want them.
Yeah.
See, and the
Which
benefit
would
for the
be-
property owner is,
Sound.
number one, you're going to get a new sidewalk installed at no expense to you, and you know how expensive sidewalks are. And then you will have the opportunity, should you choose, to have Neighborhoods program, plant some trees there. Your responsibility or obligation to Neighborhoods is to attend the workshop and to agree to take care.
Well, but see, but I'm
Well, what
not
if
that
they
far
don't
along the
want it?
line is
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
workshop, because who taught that? I know nothing about it.
I taught most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it a one-day thing?
it's like a 2 hour and a half workshop or so. And then,
You on board for playing with?
yeah, we gave them some, tree care, advice on what to do with, as far as watering, mulching and so forth. So they knew how to take care of the tree once it was planted. But then we also showed them some of the trees that are available and we let them choose.
From a
For-
limited.
Within
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
within the,
limited list.
Yeah.
within the constraints of, if they had power lines and they had to choose, they could only choose off of this, category 1 trees. And if their planting strip was too narrow, then they couldn't put a really big tree in there. So we restricted them that way, but they could choose based on, it had to be on the street tree list and available to the city at that point.
So what we could do maybe, because it's coming this Thursday, is I can just say, if you're interested in trees, let me know. And then I can take that list and then and we could have it as our next, if we have time, to be able to have this opportunity as a committee to say how.
I think that'd be really
Skin
good.
that
Yeah,
cat.
this essentially is Neighborhoods.
Yeah,
I mean, in
yeah,
my.
that's
mind,
right.
it's-
Exactly, but
It's
I
just
don't
more
want to call it that
strategic and.
because it's
yeah.
people out there calling and they want
Yeah.
neighborhood street. I got people on the list, so I
Yeah.
kind of want to rebrand it
Yeah.
for this
Yeah.
project
Yeah.
and call it
Yeah.
tree opportunity or something,
Yeah.
but you are correct. It's
Yeah.
exactly neighborhoods.
Yeah, and
With
I
the
love
desire.
that you're going into this meeting, prepared to sell it and
Yeah.
get people
Yeah.
excited about,
Yeah.
like, this is a real special opportunity
Yeah.
for you.
Not only,
And And you had also mentioned, like, when they put in the sidewalk, this opportunity to have that hose tunnel or whatever that
Yeah.
goes under the sidewalk so
Yeah.
that it makes it easier for the homeowner to water their tree.
And see, we're early enough in that process to be able to have that.
right,
So that's what this open house is. And so
Yeah.
hopefully people will show up and I'll be there being the sales guy for the trees.
Yeah.
And just basically saying, hey, we'll hook up, if you want to partner with us, we'll pick up the cost of the tree and educate you. In a nutshell.
And we're at an advantage on this project as compared to neighborhoods, because we know the specific situation. We know what the size of the planting strip is
The
going
planting
to
strips
be.
that
We know
limiting
the
factor on
presence
this.
or absence of power lines, the utilities, corridors, and things like that. Whereas in neighborhoods, it could be a person at this corner of town and a person at that corner of town that have completely different, situations, so.
And see, that's what I'm
Great
looking at, is when you look at, like, we drive down the street and you see what would be a cool presence linear, how to fit in together.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that on Division, on Boyer, as it crosses Pine, and you're heading down towards Memorial Field, that used to be a really large tree-lined road.
Mhm.
And then they widened it and they took them all out.
Yeah.
And that's what this one lady I've been working with is that she wants to, and there's a ton of strip in there for trees, but it's only this wide.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to come up with something in there. And then I've got in the parks, there's tree strips where I could put it,
Mhm.
there's a lot of opportunity.
Pine Street has the potential of being a beautiful corridor with a nice sidewalk and some
Well, see,
new
and that's just
beautiful
it.
trees.
And it's gonna
It'll be
happen.
really
So what I'm
nice.
saying, it's gonna happen this
Yeah.
summer. So let's for our tree stuff, I'm gonna go in there and try to sell trees. I don't know who's gonna buy or what we're gonna do, but I'm selling them. So
Yeah.
you guys can help me come up with the product.
Yeah, I'd like to see it planned. That's my personal opinion. I'd like to, there be a plan of what trees are gonna go there, what is the diversity of those trees gonna be, what do we want that street to look like in the future, because that's what urban planning is. It's
I understand
like,
that,
what is that, but if we just have these spatterings, then you don't have that presence where you drive down that corridor and experience something. If you just have unless that's the experience you want, if you want the experience of we're gonna have a crabapple, and we're gonna have a linden, and we're gonna have a pear, and we're gonna have this, and we're gonna have that, and you drive down that street, and that's the experience.
But
That's
the
one
but the
thing.
reality is that the city has put that burden, that opportunity on the property owner, and we can't force one or the other. That's that mixed bag.
And I
And if it
and
was like
I totally
Boise-
get that.
Boise that takes care of all their own trees, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And you know what? In 50 years, we will do. We'll be there.
Yeah.
That's the direction we're going.
Mhm.
But we're not there.
I just think that those sort of statements should kind of be in the plan.
And
Like,
I hear
this
what
is
you're,
our plan is to allow the community to decide which trees.
well, and I also
we
hear what
place-
you're saying, Molly, because if there's ever an opportunity to
It's when you, it's when
to
you're
have a project
designing.
like this, but I
But yeah,
also
I
understand
can see
we're
that
not
reality.
there yet.
Well, no, but we could
so-
do, here, just,
but-
here we have maybe both of it, because what happens, I'll come up with all these names, right? And say, we'll call it the tree lover guys or whatever. And then we'll all meet and say, look, here's our corridor, and here's where your properties are, what kind of we thinking? And then maybe work as a group for that desired end product, but still not being heavy-handed, because I don't think we have the right to come in and put the responsibility on them and the choice on them and then govern that and then dictate that.
Well,
And
I
I'm as
think
far
it's-
left as they come.
It's
And
gonna
just-
be very exciting to see how these property owners
Yeah,
respond
I
as this
think
meeting.
there's
That's
people-
what we're gonna
You
learn
know
a
what I'm
lot.
learning is that there's
Yeah.
more people that are not hip to the trees.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess that's part of my thought process is that there could be 20 people, say, on that street that say, I don't want a tree.
And you know what? And they don't have them
And-
now, and they don't want them, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Because we
That's
cannot,
okay.
again, govern that.
at this,
Not until
As
we
it's-
come in and say, we're gonna do the full meal deal.
Yeah.
Well,
I-
this will
I
be
see
a good
that.
opportunity for us to find out, get some
Level of
information
interest.
about how the public feels in general
Yeah.
about planting trees and taking care of them. And
Mm-hmm.
so this will be very interesting.
Maybe when you guys gonna go door to door right now on Pine Street, say, trees are awesome, trees are awesome.
Yeah, well, it does make me wonder if maybe somebody from the tree committee
the day after the
could make a
windstorm.
presentation.
Yeah,
at the
no
meeting.
kidding.
I saw somebody picking up branches
Well,
on
it's
Pine
just,
Street.
I'm just glad to be on the radar. I see what you're saying, and as we're more, once we have our plan in place and we're more mature as a kind of our stuff, but just to be invited to be
Yeah,
able to participate in the trees
Yeah.
part here.
Yeah.
Was, and it all started with just, basically, the project wanted us to consider all those great big trees as hazards.
Mhm.
Instead of saying, well, no, they're big, they could be a hazard, but they're not hazard.
And is it just the one side of the street?
So Kim, if you have the time, maybe go to that meeting with some visuals of some,
Send me ideas if you have some.
some,
Things I can
visions
blow
of streets that we admire, with lots of.
Well, you know what, and if you guys have some
or-
stuff, I think it's Thursday, so just send it to me
Okay,
by Wednesday. Because in all honesty, I've got like 100 other things that is gonna
Yeah.
happen, and I'm not gonna revisit it until probably Thursday at like 4:30.
okay.
So what time is the meeting?
I don't know.
Okay.
Thursday, I think.
This
You're going to
Today is
Spokane on
Monday, and it is
Thursday, too.
now 10 o'clock, I know that.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think you
Thanks,
said you're
Red.
going to Spokane on Thursday.
Oh, no,
You
in
gotta
the morning,
think-
in the
I
morning.
think, I
Yeah.
think we need to kind of wrap things up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a good discussion today. Thank you all very much. With no further business, this meeting is now adjourned at 10:07.
I approve.
I
I second that.
Okay,
Thanks,
that
Robert.
doesn't require a motion.
Robert rules.